So, the craziest NLL lacrosse records that will never be broken, part 2. Starting with wins in a row. The team with the most wins in a row is the 1990 Buffalo Bandits with the GOAT John Tavares. Won 22 straight games from February 8th to 1992 to February 5th, 1994. That means they didn't lose a game for almost 2 years. That's insane, and the main reason they won it was because John Tavares carried the team on his back and scored 21 goals and 22 assists in 8 games in his 1992 rookie season. In 1993, he did them one better, this time scored 35 goals and 23 assists for 58 points, again in 8 games. In 1994, he got 27 goals and 20 assists for 47 points, meaning that in their 2-year winning streak, John Tavares averaged 6.16 points per game. The next record is the opposite of our last one. This one is the longest losing streak. The team with the longest losing streak is the Ottawa Rebel, who lost 13 games in a row from April 15th, 2000 to March 19th, 2001, meaning that in 2 seasons they only won 1 game and lost 14. But the second place for most games lost in a row is even more impressive. Second place was held by none other than the Charlotte Cobras. If you have never heard of them, it's because they were only a thing for 1 season because of how terrible they were. In the start of the 1996 season, Charlotte was awarded an NLL expansion team, but in August of that same year, they folded because they went 0-10. That's right, they didn't win a single game all season. But I can't imagine being a lacrosse fan from Charlotte and your hometown gets a pro lacrosse team, so you buy a jersey and maybe some other stuff just for them to fold that same season. The next record is probably one of the more impressive ones. The record is most goals in a single game, which is held by the Gate Twins. Surprisingly, I can't find much information, including the score of the game. And I mean, I looked everywhere. I looked at Wikipedia, basically every website that I could think of. And I can't find much information, including the score of the game, like I said. But what I do know is that they both scored 10 goals in one game. Paul Gate scored 10 against the Boston Blazers in 1994, and Gary Gate scored 10 against the Toronto Rock 5 years later in 1999. That is literally all the information I could find. But anyway. Our next record is most goals scored in a season by one team. The record is held by the 2017 Georgia Swarm, who scored 226 goals in 18 games, and they finished the season 13-5 and finished first in the league with a 62% win rate. A big reason why they scored so many goals is because of the Thompsons. Lyle Thompson had his best season ever to this day, scoring 116 points off 45 goals and 71 assists, meaning that he contributed on 50% of Georgia's goals and even won 2017 season MVP. And Miles also had a great season with 32 goals and 25 assists for 57 points. He also played some good defense, collecting 65 loose balls and 5 caused turnovers. Our next record is most championships won. You might think that this record is owned by a team like the Buffalo Bandits or some old team that folded, but no, both of the 2 teams that are tied for first still play today. Those 2 teams are Philadelphia Wings and the Toronto Rock, who both have 6. Philadelphia won the championship last in 2001 against Toronto Rock, with the playoff MVP being Dallas Elock. There are 5 other championships, so I'm just going to speed run all of them. In 1989, against the Baltimore Thunder and Dallas Elock winning finals MVP again. 1995 against the Rochester Nighthawks, the finals MVP this time was Gary Gate. In 1994 against the Buffalo Bandits, with the finals MVP being Paul Gate. In 1990 against the New England Blazers, with the finals MVP being Brad Kotz. In 1989 against the New York Saints, with the finals MVP being John Tucker. The Toronto Rock's first win was in 1999 against the Rochester Nighthawks, with the MVP being Colin Doyle again. They also won it back in 2000 again against the Rochester Nighthawks. Their next was another set of back-to-back wins in 2002 and 2003. 2002 was against the Albany Attack, with Colin Doyle winning MVP again in 2003. They played against the Rochester Nighthawks, and the MVP was Bob Watson. Next was 2005 against the Arizona Sting, with the MVP being Colin Doyle again. I really have no idea how to pronounce his last name. In the final time they won it being in 2011 against Washington South, with the finals MVP being Bob Watson, again meaning that in all of Toronto Rock's history, only 2 people have won finals MVP, Colin Doloy and Bob Watson. But anyway, that's the end of the video. If you can think of any other records, then post them in the comments and maybe I'll make a part 3. And if you made it this far, you probably like my content, so I would recommend you to subscribe and ring the bell for weekly lacrosse content.